Welcome back, guys, to Phoenix Wright Dual Destinies. As last episode, confusingly, we completed the cosmic turnabout, finding Solomon Starbuck innocent. However, fingerprints on a bloody lighter pointed to Athena being the true criminal in this case. With that as well, we have mysteries to be solved as Apollo has left the agency, working to discover the truth. And of course, that very first case that we completed, well, he discovered there was something between Athena and Blackwell. Now knowing that Athena and Blackwell have links to the Gyaxa Space Station, it felt like episode 4, the Cosmic Turnabout, was pretty much just a small kind of nothing case to lead in to Turnabout for tomorrow. So with that said and done, the game's mysteries start to get unwrapped. And so it begins. No one can escape their past. The sins we've committed and the sadness we've caused. No matter how far we run, our past remains. As ever present as the moon in the sky. It looms in wait for the day when we are forced to face it. But only in doing so can we truly make peace and move on in hope towards tomorrow. So it comes to December 20th at the Wright Anything Agency. They took Athena from the courtroom straight to the station. She's probably being questioned at this very moment. After this past year, I took it for granted that those two would always be here. But now, Apollo has gone off on his own to seek his own truth. And my pursuit of the truth only ended up with Athena becoming the new suspect. Some boss I turned out to be. It's even quieter in here than usual. Yeah, it seems so empty too. I just don't get it, Daddy. All of your reasoning during the trial seemed perfectly solid. Yeah, and I still believe it was. At least based on what we know. But now, Athena is the one who's being accused. During the trial for the bombing and murder that occurred at the Cosmos Space Center, the lighter used by the real culprit was found. This lighter proved the defendant, Solomon Starbuck, innocent. But Athena's prints were found on it instead. And she was subsequently arrested for the murder. But Athena couldn't have done it. It just doesn't make any sense. No, none of it does. I've been racking my brain, but I just can't figure it out. Where's the flaw in my reasoning? What have I got wrong in this case? No, Daddy. If Athena was here, she wouldn't just be sitting around thinking. She'd be out there doing something. You are going to defend Athena, right, Daddy? Of course I will. And thanks, Trucy. I needed that push. Trucy's right. The trial is tomorrow. There's no time to waste. If I'm going to prove Athena's innocence, I'd better get out there and find some evidence. Off we go then. We're on a hunt for evidence that'll prove Athena's innocence. Great. But before we go, I better tidy up the evidence I have on hand. So unnecessary evidence have been left at the office, hinting that really this is just a continuation of Trial 4 in that sense as well. Athena is probably still in the middle of being questioned. So Trucy's right. The thing to start with is talking to people at the Space Center. And so we shall move on. Though Trucy seems full of hope. I still can't believe Apollo really left us. It was so sudden. Maybe he got tired of being my assistant for my magic tricks. I don't think it's your fault, Trucy. But I made him clean the toilet a lot. And I made him go bring in the newspaper. It was my fault. I just know it. Oh, Apollo. I really don't think it was your fault, Trucy. But I didn't realise Apollo was wearing so many hats around here either. You're just working him to the bone, that's what you're doing, Phoenix. He's a good attorney. How could they suspect Athena? It's just ridiculous. There must be some kind of conspiracy. Conspiracy, huh? Well, it certainly is some kind of mistake, that's for sure. First of all, we have to bust Athena out of the detention center. Then we have to chase down the people who framed her. Sneak around the world, from Kiev to Carolina, with the fuzz holding our tails. Isn't that exactly the same as the plot of the movie you watched the other day? Which movie is that? I don't actually know. It's not Bonnie and Clyde, is it? Or something like that? I have no clue. Kiev to California? What? It can't be Bonnie and Clyde. What movie is that? I have no clue whatsoever. As we move to begin our investigation. To the detention center or to the entrance of the Gyaxa Space Center is the real question here. Not to here. Not to here. No one wants to see us right now. She's being questioned. So the only place to go is straight to the Space Center. Hello, you. Director Cosmos, do you have a minute? Galactic scooter, full speed ahead! Director, he scooted away. His expression changed the instant he saw you, Daddy. Yeah, well, I dragged his name through the mud pretty good at the trial earlier today. Alright, so we still can't see anything here. Trucy's looking around, but it seems Trucy is going to be our backup for this case, so that's cool. Having Trucy back once again as we head into the boarding lounge. So everything's still going then. Haven't they closed up? Why have they turned the display back on again? We were here only yesterday. Oh, hey! Mr. Starbuck, you've been released, huh? Yep, and I came straight here. This is all thanks to you and your team, Mr. Wright. You've given me a second chance to fly into space again. I can't thank you enough. Except... What's wrong? I thought he'd be happy to be acquitted. As I was coming out of the detention center, I saw Miss Cykes. He saw Athena. I was at a loss for words. I didn't know what to say to the poor girl. And then, you know what? She flashed a peace sign at me. Congratulations on your acquittal, she said. Now you can go back into space someday. Yeah, sounds like Athena. I could just picture it. But I saw her eyes. They were red and swollen from crying. She's got to be suffering. She must be so worried. And yet she went out of her way to be nice and give me that big smile. She held back her own tears so she could give someone else a smile. That's so Athena. There's no question about it. That girl is innocent. Please, Mr. Wright, you have to make sure she goes free. And then they can put me in prison instead. I don't mind. We can't have that either, Mr. Starbuck. Don't worry, Mr. Starbuck. I'm going to give her the very best defense I can. I promise to get her acquitted, just like I did for you. I know she'll be alright with you in her corner. I know you'll never give up on her. Apollo is a fine boss to look up to. And so, we talked to Sol about the murder, it seems. While I'm trying to calm down a cat that's on my lap that's cleaning herself. You might be able to even hear it with the mic so near. I still can't believe Launchpad 1 was switched for the Space Museum. What could have made Director Cosmos do such a thing? I haven't the foggiest idea. So there never was going to be a launch that day. Not from the very beginning. I wonder if Clay knew. I imagine he must have. Surely he would have noticed when you went on board the rocket. It's pathetic to think I was the only one who got taken in. But I guess that's about how it goes. When you're worth less than space debris. Is he going to be alright, Daddy? His expression looks as dark as a black hole. Well, that's just how he is. It is just how he is. So, you need some sunshine in your life, man. Mr. Starbuck, do you remember anything about the murderer? Not really. I only saw a shadowy figure in the dark after all. Yeah, I guess that was a little too much to hope for. Hey, I heard something from the police though. They said that they never did find a .10 caliber gun down that trash chute. Okay, just as I thought. The culprit must have carried it away with them when they escaped. So was the person you saw holding a gun, Mr. Starbuck? I couldn't really tell. But it wasn't Athena, right? Could you tell if the person was male or female? Tall or short? I can't even tell you that much. Man, I'm useless. When the culprit opened the door and some light came in, I should have been able to see. The door? Ah, yes. As I recall, they opened this door here as they made their escape. The door to Launchpad 1, right? Yeah, except right now, the door leads to the Space Museum. You mean the Launchpad and the Space Museum are switched right now? Yeah, they're trying to investigate the theory you came up with in court. So they're recreating the conditions, huh? I'd like to see what's beyond that door now. Mr. Starbuck, could you open this door for us? Sure, just let me have my print scanned here. Right, so we're switching the launch pads. Do the launch pads get switched back and forth a lot? Well, back when the Space Museum was Launchpad 2, they used to switch the pads around at times. But these days, Launchpad 2 is only used as a tourist attraction, right? Right, because, quite frankly, the Space Center needs the money. I hear you. Times sure are tough. Daddy, let's go check out what's beyond that door. Sure, let's go. Hey, why don't I come along? I can show you around. Ooh, well there's something here. Is that a leaf? Huh? I wonder what these dead leaves are doing here. Maybe they were stuck to the bottom of somebody's shoes. There are lots of trees around the Space Center. She's right. It's a modern state-of-the-art building, but it's surrounded by trees. But I don't know. If they were stuck to the bottom of somebody's shoes, wouldn't they look more crushed up? These don't look like they've been stepped on. Maybe there's some kind of secret hatch in the corridor, and they came in that way. Not everything is set up like a magician's stage, you know. It also means the cleaning robots haven't been working in here, which is a bit weird. Right, what else to look at? Well, the pad itself, is there anything above, like a hatch, or a button, or something I'm missing? No, it just seems like this panel is what we need. This is another one of those devices for opening the door, huh? Yep, but this one doesn't require fingerprint verification. You just hit the button and open sesame. So when you and Clay went through here, you didn't need to show your prints either. That's right, Trucy. Just like how the culprit didn't need to scan their prints. When they escaped back out of the Space Museum corridor into boarding rounds 2. So Launchpad 1 door lock has been updated. The biometric door lock print authentication isn't required from the Launchpad side. Well, I don't see anything else that jumps out at me. And I imagine this corridor is built exactly like the Launchpad 1 corridor. So does the leaves in mean that that tunnel could actually be far enough away from the building itself that leaves could blow in from the trees? Could it have been in some kind of weird location at some point in time? I mean, it does actually move to a proper launch pad after all. So that's a little confusing. We'll obviously find out more about that in the future. So there's nothing to check out more here. Doesn't seem like we can move anywhere. Do I need to present something to you? It doesn't look like you wish to talk to me at all. Let's go to the entrance then. And find someone waiting? Maybe to run away yet again. Ah! Ah! Curse the wretch who sullied my good name! Reverse course and full speed away! Dr. Cosmos, wait! I'll hand this, Daddy. Take that! Yeah! The mobility system has been compromised! Trucy's knife throw was a direct hit to one of his tires! And the streak continues. Maybe I should have kept a closer watch on what tricks she's been practicing. My dear old battleship, we fought many a skirmish together. It has been an honor. Daddy, he's gonna blow that thing up. Nah, I bet all that button will do is make it go haywire again. Very well. I surrender. As a prisoner of war, I expect to be treated honorably. And so we speak to Mr. Marvelous himself. Where's he gonna go spinning around is what we really want to know. Director Cosmos, when you were talking in court about switching the launch pads, you used your right to remain silent about the reasons to why. I'd like Director Cosmos to tell us why he switched the two launch pads to begin with. Please, I can't. I exercise my right to remain silent. But I will say, my hands were tied. I was only doing what I could to keep my men from getting caught in that blast. The center of the cosmos is shrouded in mystery, but I don't have any secrets left. Now that my battleship has been destroyed and I've been taken prisoner. Really? We're gonna Magatams with you, are we? No secrets left, huh? I beg to differ. Looks like I'll have to undo his cycle look, so I want to get to the bottom of this. Is it one I can do now? That said, we haven't really checked the court record yet to see what information is still in here. So we still have Clay Terran's autopsy, so that's still going to be important, of course. We have the Space Center diagram, we have the utility knife, the victim's blood on it, no prints. With the launchpad 1 door that we saw, security camera video is still there. Space Center pamphlet still there, so things regarding placements still matter. Hope capsule's here. Aura's statement is here. The propelled a light with an Earth emblem on it in their left hand and a knife in their right. Will this handedness make any sense regarding the prints? Well, we can't really examine the prints at this point in time. There's evidence found by Detective Fulbright. It has Athena's prints on it in the victim's blood. The lighter is the last piece of evidence we have now. Can I break any of this with our Magatama powers? This is the question. What is the answer? Behind the switching of the launch pads. I want you to tell me everything you're hiding about the switching of the two launch pads. I refuse. You can't make me. I can hold out longer than anyone. I hope I never got this when I'm old. Now let's see. Where to start? This is how you explained your motive for switching the launch pads. You did it to save the astronauts, of course. Not even gonna look at the other two. Thanks to you switching the launch pads, the astronauts escaped injury from the blast. Instead, they safely boarded the museum's rocket far away from the actual explosion. My astronauts were raring to go out on an authentic adventure in space. How do you propose I had them board a fake rocket without them noticing? I agree, you couldn't have done it without help. For one, they would have figured it out the instant they stepped into the space museum. You figured you could fool Mr. Starbuck once he'd been drugged with his medication. But without the help of this person, it would have been impossible to pull your plan off. Aha! So the murdered himself, the victim. Clay Terran would be the only one who was lucid at that point in time. He was carrying stuff around like he needed to protect it as well, in a weird sense. So Clay was basically an escort. He was in on the plan. Take that! You must have gotten Mr. Terran to help you. He stole the tranquilizers from his mentor's locker and slipped them to him. And then, with Mr. Starbuck in a daze, they boarded the replica rocket in the museum.
Someone please help this poor prisoner of war!
How is he able to spin around like that? One of his tires is done. If you really wanted to save the astronauts' lives, shouldn't you have just called off the launch?
If I could have done that, do you think I would have gone to all that trouble?
I guess he must have had a compelling reason why he couldn't call it off. But how did you know to switch the pads in advance of the bombing incident?
Well, that's because, I was warned in advance. Once I received that warning, it was my duty to ensure my astronauts' safety.
But it was just a warning. It could even have been a prank. Why did you believe in it so completely?
Because I went to one of those mediums that everyone's talking about these days.
Oh? I didn't realize channeling was back in vogue. Besides, I thought it was you yourself that got the warning via telephone.
Yes, that's right. The bomber contacted me personally. My battleship is equipped with a special advanced communication system, you see.
AKA a regular old telephone.
It's been a while. Planning another launch? I see you haven't learned. I'll never forget the terror I felt when I received that call.
The bomber said it's been a while. And that was enough to make you take the threat seriously. Perhaps Director Cosmos took the threat so seriously because the Space Center had been involved in the bombing once before. Maybe the culprit in the current case is the same person who was involved in this incident. So, courtroom number 4 bombing, well, you've got to imagine, somewhat being a bomber and all, Mr. Tenate, but still, we're talking about a long time ago, so something that happened in the past. The Hat One Miracle is most likely the option. The Hat One Miracle, that epic story of survival. People across the nation know it now as a heroic tale of bravery. But in truth, it was an act of sabotage perpetrated by a current killer, wasn't it? Very few knew about the previous plot, so when the caller said, "It's been a while," you knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that the danger was real, and it wasn't a prank.
Did anyone ever tell you to go easy on an ex-serviceman? Yes, that one miracle was really a desperate battle against an act of sabotage. I even lost the life of one of my staff members in the fight.
Sabotage? Murder? So this is the ugly truth behind the Hat One Miracle.
I let my guard down. I thought the saboteur had been caught and that the case was closed.
Huh? Wait a minute. The murder at the Space Center 7 years ago. This must be the person Director Cosmos thought was the culprit. So, we're talking about, well, someone related to the Space Center that was convicted 7 years ago of a murder at the Space Center.
Take that!
Simon Blackwell. Simon Blackwell, the murder suspect in a case that happened here 7 years ago. The place and time of the two incidents, the murder and the sabotage, were the same. So you thought that he committed both crimes? But while Prosecutor Blackwell's behind bars, you've got another threatening call. If the culprit this time is the same as 7 years ago, then it isn't Simon Blackwell. Realizing that, you were shaken. It meant the true culprit's been running free all this time.
Ugh. How do you keep seeing straight through me?
Because I'm an expert lawyer with spiritual powers. Of course. Completely reasonable response. So now, are you going to tell us why you switched the launch pads? The reason why Director Cosmos won't talk about why he switched the launch pads is connected to the truth behind the Hat One Miracle. The sabotage and murder that happened at this space center 7 years ago. Director Cosmos, tell us what you're hiding.
If you really want to understand the reason I decided to switch the launch pads, we'll have to start with the story of that horrible nightmare from 7 years ago.
7 years ago? You mean the so-called Hat One Miracle?
The launch went smoothly, but once the ship entered outer space, then the troubles began. It was all the handiwork of a certain person and their evil scheme.
So Mr. Starbuck's traumatic experience wasn't accidental.
Not only that, but before the launch, a very valuable piece of moon rock was stolen. But that wasn't the worst of it. One of my staff members was murdered.
Wow, I had no idea such awful events were behind that exciting story of space heroism.
All that, in spite of the Space Center having very strict security in those days. All personal effects were examined thoroughly, coming or going. You couldn't even smuggle a withered old leaf through those checkpoints.
Speaking of leaves. So, do you have any clue who was responsible for the sabotage?
At the very least, I know it wasn't Simon Blackquill. I don't know enough to identify the true culprit, but it's clear what that person is. To put it simply, a spy.
A spy? You mean somebody who infiltrates a foreign country? Carries out dangerous missions, and always gets the girl? Someone's watching way too many late-night movies. Well, I guess if we're talking about blowing up a rocket and stealing research material, it's not all that surprising that a spy could be behind it all. It makes perfect sense if, you know, Phoenix Wright's land, his country, his place, seems to be ahead in the space race, which of course seems to be quite a bit behind ours.
Make no mistake, there's cutthroat rivalry between nations in the space R&D race. Some try to outdo others by any means possible, even deliberate obstruction. 7 years ago, we got a call before the launch warning us of sabotage. The same MO as this time. Oh, wrong person. Yes, and here I thought the perpetrator had been caught, but it looks like I was wrong.
Prosecutor Blackquill seems more like a ninja than a spy, don't you think? Aren't ninjas and spies basically the same thing?
But there's a good reason we failed to find the real spy. A massive cover-up by the government. Government officials were too embarrassed to admit that they had allowed such a thing to happen at the hands of a spy.
Don't tell me they made the police rush the investigation.
They did indeed. And then to cover up the sabotage, they cleaned up the story.
And that was the Hat 1 miracle, wasn't it? But then 7 years later, the same MO, advance warning of sabotage. And that must have been the director's reason for switching the launch pads. So just like 7 years ago. 7 years ago, the spy gave you advance warning of their plans, just like this time. That was what made you decide to switch the launch pads, wasn't it?
That's right. The caller knew the facts of the case 7 years ago, despite the cover-up. They knew about the sabotage, the moonrock, the murder, and they said, "You don't want things to go like they did 7 years ago, do you?" I immediately thought of calling off the launch, but the government wouldn't let me. We don't give in to the likes of terrorists. We must proceed for our country's honor,
even though people have to die for it.
It was quite a moving speech, actually.
Moving? Really? Maybe if you're easily inspired by political talking points. Indeed. Indeed.
But I knew the truth. We had been warned, which meant that the danger was very real. I knew there was no way to stop the spy. No matter what I did, they would find a way. That's why I switched the launch pads and staged the moving rescue scene. First, I snuck into the center the night before and switched the launch pads. That way, the astronauts would go from boarding lounge 1 to the Space Museum. Then, I put a closed for repairs sign at the door to launch pad 1 in boarding lounge 2.
You did that so normal visitors wouldn't enter, right? What else did you do?
I enlisted the help of several staff members, including Terran.
But you didn't let Mr. Starbuck in on it?
He'd already been through enough, and he's no good at lying to keep a secret. I'm afraid I had no choice but to have him drugged. My plan went well. Until...
Clay's murder, huh?
After the culprit made their escape, I switched the launch pads back. I did it in such a way that no one would find out. But after all that effort... Terran is dead, and the Hat 2 is destroyed. And the Hope capsule, which had returned to us only recently, was also lost in that blast. My home, the center of the cosmos. My beautiful cosmos center is done for!
Wait, what did he mean by the Hope capsule was lost in that blast? I mean, it still exists, doesn't it? I thought that the Hope capsule was found at the crime scene with Mr. Terran. It had just been brought back with the Hope space probe with asteroid samples inside. So what kind of samples are they? What's in them?
The samples are scheduled for analysis in the near future. We haven't had time since they just came back the day before Terran's murder. The capsule was being held in a safe in Launchpad 1, but I gave it to Terran before the incident so it wouldn't be destroyed in the explosion. The idea was that, with it safely in Terran's possession, he could make it look like he rescued it during the staged miraculous escape. But our precious research materials ended up lost to that explosion anyway.
But I thought Clay was supposed to keep it safe.
You misunderstand. The launchpad explosion wasn't the one the capsule was lost to. It was lost after the police confiscated it as evidence.
Oh?
It was the courtroom bombing from the other day. The capsule was there in the courtroom as evidence and was blown to smithereens.
Yet another casualty of that blast.
Ultimately, I think the culprit may have known about the switching of the launch pads.
What? How?
The police found a wiretapping device during their investigation today. A bug aboard my battleship, a tap on my advanced communications system.
A wire on that phone?
Yes, a wire on this very phone. I used this phone to give instructions to my staff about the launchpad switch, just to the few select members who knew about the plan. Just before the incident, staff members were coming in and out of Launchpad 1. The culprit probably slipped in with them amid the confusion.
And planted the bomb then? Yes, if they were tapping your phone, they definitely could pull something like that off. So you really think the same spy is behind this incident and the one 7 years ago?
Yes, I'm sure of it.
Then this spy must be the Phantom Prosecutor Blackwell has been chasing.
But Prosecutor Blackwell told me once. The hunt I've been on for the Phantom of 7 years past continues even still. For starters, that case happened right here at this very Space Center too.
So if we can find this Phantom, that's right, we can clear Athena's name. And then there's the matter of Prosecutor Blackwell too. What about him? Well, if the culprit of 7 years ago is the same person as in the current incident, it would mean Prosecutor Blackwell is innocent. That's still an if, though. I wonder how dangerous that guy would be in court without handcuffs. But if we're going on a ghost hunt, count me in!
It's all over for me! Spin, spin, whirl, whirl, I'm done for! The center of the cosmos is doomed!
Do you think he's gonna be alright, Danny? Well, at least he'll be in good company. There must be planets out there he can spin with. Which reminds me, I'd like to delve a little deeper into the Hat 1 mission too.
If you want to learn more, start with the Space Museum! There's a Hat 1 exhibit there! Oh, don't mind me! I'll just keep spinning here and see how the cosmos unfolds!
It's like he achieved spiritual enlightenment or something. I'm sure he'll stop when he gets dizzy. Let's go visit the Space Museum! And so, with Mr. Spins Me Right Round, still spinning right round. We'll end this episode here a little bit longer because, of course, we wanted to set the scene for the case and get more information. Because, of course, this isn't a case just about now. It's a case about 7 years ago. It is the case the game has been building up to. So, probably the final case of our game. Join me next time as we delve into it properly with some more investigation. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.